All right. I think everything should be ready to go. Hello, everybody. If you've been waiting, thank you so much for waiting. Let me just know really quickly in the chat if everything is set up well, if I sound well, if you can see everything well. Yeah, and then I think we should be ready to start. So, welcome everybody to episode number 3 of the Dev and Dine podcast. My name is Paul. I'm really excited to welcome you here to the cooking channel and the game development talking channel. It's a symbiosis of the two greatest creative things human minds can come up with. And yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I am really hungry today. All I had was for breakfast just a bowl of cereal, and then today was like the greatest week. Like this week was the greatest week ever because Albert Heijn had mangoes on sale, which are like objectively the best fruit. So I just I got myself like two really ripe, juicy mangoes yesterday at the grocery store, and yeah, they're all gone. I had another mango just for lunch today, which is like the best lunch you can have, but also not necessarily the most filling. Yeah, I was thinking of using it for what we are doing now, which is, yeah, we are going to be making tacos together. Birria tacos, vegan, of course, because everything on this channel is plant-based entirely. Yeah, and I think that could be really fun. So unfortunately, no mango toppings for the tacos. But yeah, I got a bunch of good stuff here. Got vegan chicken, of course. We got all sorts of sauces, onion, garlic. So we're gonna be making like a really savory, spicy taco. And what better game development talk to go with that than making your first game, which is of course spicy as well, right? Like, because it's like all about frustration, all these emotions bubbling up while you are, yeah, trying to figure out everything about these small little nitty gritty details in the engine. Especially, we're gonna be talking a lot about like working in the engine and what to focus on, how to prioritize yourself properly, and how you keep yourself mentally healthy and sane throughout the project because it can be a really crazy driving process making your first game. I've been there, so don't sweat it. We're going to be tackling this together, and I hope by the end of this live stream, you're going to be going into that game engine, going into making your first game with confidence and just, yeah, ambition and a good feeling about yourself. Cool. Right. Also, episode number 3, for the first time ever in the long history of this stream, we have a question of the day. So my question to you today is, what is the most frustrating thing ever? It doesn't need to be game development related. Is there just anything that really frustrates you, like throughout your daily life? Just frustrations that have been bubbling up and you just don't really know how to deal with? Just pop that right in the chat. I'd be really interested to see what really just makes you guys angry. I know what makes me a little bit angry, or at least has stirred me a little bit up today, was, yeah, I've moved to Amsterdam like 2 weeks ago, and I can already sense that because I canceled my gym subscription in Germany, I'm starting to like really slouch a lot. Like, I had the Global Game Jam last weekend, but that's already a week ago. It's Friday, right? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, but afterwards, I've really just been slouching. Like, I went on a little mental healthy walk today through a really beautiful park in Amsterdam. But yeah, no, I just need a little bit more exercise. So I really want to like find a gym again. I did that in Germany when I was still living in Essen. And oh my God, in Breda, I had, when I was still going to university there, I mean, I am still in the university, but no, they had like student discounts for the local gyms there, and they were like 10 euros a month for the gym, plus you were able to do like all sorts of sports activities as well, right? So you could like do badminton, volleyball, you play soccer, all of those cool things, like inclusive with the gym subscription. And now I'm looking into like student subscriptions here in Amsterdam, and like the cheapest thing I could find was like 37 euros for like 1 month of membership. That's like I mean, I guess that's standard for Amsterdam, but it's like, dude, everything, like the price for everything is like exponentially growing in Amsterdam. Like, honestly, like if you have a house, that's your hobby. Like your apartment needs to be your hobby because everything else is just like you can't keep up that lifestyle, especially as a poor student. Um, oh, Netadoni, hey, hallo, welcome, bienvenuto, guten to this podcast. We're talking in English. Hope that's not a big problem for you, but welcome to the podcast. All right, yeah, as I said, our main topic today is going to be talking about my first video game, the frustrations that I experienced whilst making it, and yeah, of course, also answering your questions regarding that. So yeah, let's just start really simple, just like you should with your first game, with slicing this onion. Yeah, I hope the lighting's good. I usually have a light on here, um, but I realized it's either overexposure to the cooking station or overexposure to my light. So my face cam might not necessarily be the brightest, but I hope that is okay. It's not a problem. Awesome. I knew I could count on you, Nintendo. Have you ever made a video game or thought about making a video game? I'd be really interested because I know a lot of like young people are aspiring to make games, and I know that you also do a lot of very cool streaming about video games on your channel. So, have you ever thought about making a game yourself? Maybe. So then I think this talk could be quite interesting for you. Um, right. So I am just going to start talking a little bit about my very first video game that I ever created. Um, and I think this is something that I would really suggest to you if you are just starting out with designing. Your very first game should probably just be a recreation of an already existing game. If you're just like trying to like gain tool proficiency, that is like the best thing you can do, right? Just like start off with something really, really simple. If it's not a recreation, have it be something that is very similar to an already existing experience. So, yeah, that was essentially at university. We started our first block just learning game design fundamentals through like board games. And then the second block was, yeah, obtaining tool proficiency through the recreation of an arcade game. And the arcade game that I had to recreate was Moon Patrol. It's like a 1982 arcade game. Essentially, the gist of it is you are controlling this moon buggy. Um, yeah, you're controlling this moon buggy, and yeah, it's a single screen game, but you can like so. let me just let me just try to paint the picture in your head. You are controlling a moon buggy. Your goal is like in so many arcade games to just get like the highest score possible. And while you are driving in the moon buggy, there are enemies and rocks and pits coming from the right side at you, and above there are UFOs and like different types of UFOs that all have different behavior patterns, um, swirling around and shooting. And you basically, yeah, you can shoot both into like the direction of the enemies and vertically upwards at the same time. Um, and you can move around, like you can accelerate, you can brake, and you basically like have to navigate all around this the screen. I mean, you're constantly going forward, and there's constantly more enemies coming your way. You just have to dodge them, or position yourself properly to be able to kill the enemies. I hope I managed to paint a good picture of the game in your head. Um, wait, I thought about making a game, but nothing else. Also, yeah, I'm still running my channel. It's also crazy that I know you for four. Honestly, you have been with this channel for so long. You said you've thought about making a game. Is there like maybe a certain type of genre or specific type of game that you really like, or where you're like, oh, this is like a game that I would really want to make. Like this is my absolute dream game? Because yeah, I'm really interested to find out. Um, yeah, so that is essentially Moon Patrol. Oh boy, did I have fun making this game. Um, yeah, right. So I'm going to try to go in depth both about my experience making this, and also I'm gonna try to like generalize it so that it's like I have good content or like good tips that can essentially be applied to any game, or any game development process, right? So, yeah. All right, we finished dicing the onion. Perfect for the introduction. I like jump and runs. Oh yeah, honestly, like jump and runs. Honestly, just like simple fun, right? Just like average Mario games. I think those are also perfect for designing your very first game because a lot of it is fairly straightforward. At least if you're just doing like the um, basic mechanics, right? If you're doing it in Unreal Engine or in any other uh, engine at that, but you already have like um, a standard like template for it. So a lot of it is going to be just like tweaking variables, right? Just like changing number values, make the character maybe like jump a little bit higher, right? So you don't need to like put in as much extra work. It's still going to be difficult, right? Depending on what kind of experience you want to create. But yeah, I think jump and runs are perfect for starting out. Um, yeah, I was inactive for quite a while, but we're so back with game development and cooking now. Yeah. Um, all right. So Moon Patrol. Yeah, I think I've already painted like a bit of a picture in your head. Yes. So I've described the mechanics. As I said, short form, you're a moon buggy, um, riding around yeah, this space station, and there are rocks and pits coming from the right side, and there's UFO enemies coming from above. Um, yes, what we did, or like what our school wanted us to do, is have this essentially like they wanted this to be a team experience. So I was put in together with one other. I had two teammates at the start actually, and one of them dropped out. Um, which it sounds contradicting, but I think that was actually good. Because I think honestly, your first game making experience, like the very first game that you make, honestly, I think it's good if that is a solo activity. I think they did it a lot better in the years that came after us because they were tasked to create the game solo, but they were put in a study group where everybody had to make the same game. Um, so I think that is I first personally, yeah, I think making your first game solo is a lot better because you just really have to do everything at the start, right? Like you have to make sure that all the mechanics are tied up. You have to like add sound effects, you have to add art, you have to like program everything by yourself, and it's just that is a process where once you've done it, like just making a simple game that contains everything and is like a well-rounded experience, really those skills they translate to so many other projects, and I honestly think that that is, yeah, something that people should do by themselves. um right. So yes, what you should do when you are just starting out is you should be choosing a really, really simple game, right? Like, just start out with something. I think, honestly, for me, at the start, Moon Patrol was even a little bit too difficult. I think, honestly, you should go for something even smaller. Something like Pong, right? Just like try to think of like what were the very, very first video games that existed, right? Like Pong, Tetris. I think Tetris might even also be a little bit. Yeah, but like honestly, I think Pong is a great game to start off with. And when you start off with it, this is one really important thing that I want you to do. Do not look up a tutorial, right? Do not look up an online tutorial for the game that you've chosen where it's essentially like, this is how to make Pong. And then you just follow it step by step. I feel like we humans, we are really like, we gravitate towards those tutorials because like if you follow it step by step, at the end of the day, you can say, whoa, look, I have Pong, right? I have like a fully fledged game. Um, I did that at the start all the time. I did it with Pong as well in like the Unity engine, I think. Um, and it's exciting at the end of the day, right? Because we have like a full, complete game. Um, but yeah, actually, afterwards, once I had made it, and I then jumped back into the engine, I was like, okay, now I've made this. Now I can start creating my own things. I like it shocked me. I came to realize that I had learned nothing. Like absolutely zero. Like I wasn't even able to make like a character jump because my brain, while I was following those tutorials, was essentially on autopilot, right? And I was just like, no, it was like somebody telling me exactly, step by step, what to do, right? It's like place a click here, click a text box there, um, alter this to this number, right? And it's like I wasn't even paying attention to what my actions actually meant, right? So I think this is something that is so important. Just don't don't follow these tutorials. Make sure that you actually, or at least if you're doing it, make sure that you actually understand the logic behind what the tutorial is telling you to do. I would stay away from those tutorials completely, but you know, if it's maybe like the first experience that, and you just want to make something quickly and it like maybe gives you a touch of motivation to do it at the start, maybe then that's good for you, right? I don't know. Um, let's see. It's nice to see that that are becoming really active again after like 3 years. Tetris and Pong are 17 years apart. Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I think yeah, I think Tetris. When do you have like the exact dates for when the games came out? Because I'm not too sure at the moment. Actually, when did Tetris come out? That was on the no. Honestly, I'm as a game designer, not knowing that. Whoa, I'm embarrassing myself now probably. But yeah. Also, Tetris is definitely a lot more difficult to create than Pong, for sure. Um, all right, we've cut the garlic, we've sliced and diced the onion. Let me just clean this up here. Um, and yeah, then afterwards, I'm going to tell you how to start off with researching your game, right? Because that's what it all starts off. If you're recreating a game, you should research. All right. Let me just see if is it overexposure if I turn this on? Yeah, that's unfortunately you can see my face better, but I really want the station also to just look good. Hmm. Yeah, unfortunately my face is just a bit underlit. I think that's just what we kind of have to deal with today. I hope that's okay for you, by the way. Um, but yeah, as I said, um, okay, Pong came out in 1972 and Tetris came out in 1980. Tetris came out in 1989? Tetris is younger than Super Mario Bros? I was fully convinced that Tetris came out before Super Mario Bros. Wow, that's actually thank you so much, Nintendo, for the research. Like I didn't know. Um, but cool. Right. So we were starting off with research, and when I say research, I mean play your reference game. Like really play it a lot. I think at least 5 hours, right? If you're choosing Moon Patrol, something that is right still like a bit tied up, you're really gonna like want to sit there, play the game a bunch, like and while you are doing it, or not while you are doing it, I think honestly, like first you should just get a natural feel for it, right? Like you should, in my opinion, um, yeah, spend like at like 2 hours just like playing it, just like have fun with it, right? Because like if you're not having fun, then you don't know, right? If you're interrupting that experience constantly, um, then you don't really pay attention to what is fun for the player, right? If you don't actually experience it. But yeah, I think after you've played like 3 hours, um, or 2 hours, you should really start off with just like making notes, right? Start to make notes about the game. Start to make notes about how things are behaving, right? So like for Moon Patrol, for example, I hope the sizzle's not too loud, actually. I've just realized that this is actually quite loud, but I wish you could smell it. It smells so good. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Right. But just like, just play the game, like, a lot, and, take notes about how things are moving, take notes about, like, what the most fun things are for you, and what is super, super advisable at the start is that you start creating, like, a flowchart, right? So, a flowchart is for a game is essentially just, like, what are, like, the main... You have to think of what are, like, the main player states that the player can go to. Like, I'm just gonna put it really simple, like, main menu is a state, and then game start is a state, right? So, from the main menu, player presses play button, they go into the game, right? And then they are dropped into the play state, right? Where they are actually controlling the moon buggy. Now, another state that could happen is the player is jumping, right? So, from play state, or like from game start, you write player jumps, right? Does that take them into a new state? Well, potentially. For Moon Patrol, if you stop jumping, it just takes you back into the play state, so that would essentially be like an arrow up, an arrow down. And it's really all about breaking it down into these different play states that the player can be in. So, yeah, that you essentially, at the end of your research process, you just have this entire, like, flowchart of, like, different states that, and different things that can happen throughout the game, right? So, like, those could include, for example, game over, right? Or scoring points, or completing a level, right? I think these are three, like, very common things that are also part of Moon Patrol. Gain an extra life, right? Just all these things that can happen, and you have to ask yourself the questions, okay, when does that happen? And just write this flowchart for yourself in, like, really basic English, right? Just, like, don't worry about code or anything at this point. Just make a flowchart for English, like, in English, and that is enough. I think this is, like, something that is a bit easier when you have a game like branching dialogue, right? When you actually, like, know, you know, when you have a narrative-driven game and you actually, like, know which answers lead, which questions lead to which answers, right? And you have that all branched out, like we did for our Alice game. Like, I haven't even told you about that yet, but, yeah, that was a really, really fun, fun flowchart making, experience. So let me just see. The Game Boy came out in 1989. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I had a Game Boy Advance, actually. Did you have a Game Boy when you were younger? Alright. Add chili paste, tomato paste, and spice mix. Alright, yeah. Because we want to spice this up. I got a lot of spices at the Yapi. So, yeah, this is actually... I thought this was crispy chili at the start. Just like, oh... I love crispy chili. Crispy chili with... Oh. Actually, the spoon is too big for the jar, so we're just gonna have to use a fork. I like it spicy. If you don't like it spicy, you don't have to add this. But, yeah, a little bit more. A little bit more spice. Nice. Yeah. Right, so that was about the flowchart creation process, and what you're gonna want to do afterwards. Oh, somebody, Manon. Hi, joining while I am also cooking. Oh, nice. Yeah, thank you so much, Manon, for joining. Wow, what an honor to have a game jam winner in the chat here. Yeah, I took part in the global game jam last weekend, and Manon actually was part of the winning team. They made a really cool game with motion tracking where you had to like pop bubbles, or you had to like collect bubbles to become like a bigger bubble person, and had to avoid like little spiky balls as you were growing. That was such a fun game idea. So yeah, welcome to the chat, Manon. Right. Okay, what was I talking about? Right, we were talking about like making a flowchart for the game that essentially covers like every state that the game can be in, right? And what we did afterwards, or this was actually already part of the technical design document. I just took the words right out of my mouth. But yeah, you make a technical design document afterwards. I think this is more of something that you do if you're actually working in a team. Just so a technical design document is essentially something that just like where you basically have like all the guidelines for how you want to technically create the game. So there are things like coding conventions, right? Like how you want to comment your code, for example. Yeah, what are your milestones? That could also be part of your technical design document. Like I think we used it not just for tech stuff, but also to like structure ourselves a little bit, which again, right, it's like all related. But yeah, it's essentially just a document that helps you breaking things down further. Right. Again, yeah, as I said, use normal English. Don't use coding mumbo jumbo if you're inexperienced, right? Just for the flowchart, keep terms very, very simple to make things easy for yourself. Spice mix. All right, we're gonna want to have like a tablespoon of each of these. So I got paprika, just like a tablespoon. I don't know, I can be quite generous with this. Then we got like garlic powder despite having garlic in there. Is that a recipe for disaster? We're gonna see. Pepper. And some cumin, Komeinsaat in Dutch. Oh yeah, that smells really good. Nice. Okay, seems like I was wrong. Tetris came out in 6th of June 1984, but only in the USSR and 1989 rest of the world. Yeah, exactly. It was created in the Soviet Union. Thank you for fact-checking all of this, by the way. Oh, wow. Okay, I think that might have been a bit too much pepper. Jesus. I'm gonna have to survive this, so yeah. Wish me luck. Okay, what we're gonna need is some veg stock. So let me just take care of that. I think we can put this on lower heat. And yeah, stuff is already starting to burn. So yeah, maybe turn it off entirely for now. Maybe I'll remove this from the heat real quick. cooking. Yeah, we are making tacos today. Spicy tacos. So yeah. um, maybe I made it a bit too spicy for the start. Hope they turn out well. Is it maybe time for me to turn this on? Nah, it's still too much lighting. Yeah, having a little bit of trouble with the lighting today, but I hope that's fine. Um, yeah, I think we yeah, oh, of course, one more thing you can also add. I just have like a little checklist here I'm going through. Right, it's always good to add some risks, right? Just add some risks to, yeah, which for creating your first game will probably be like your inexperience, um, or just like once you get more into like engine practices, how like different types of things that can happen, you find different types of issues, you can just drop them in there, right? It's always good to have a risk log even when you're working by yourself. um yeah, I think that's it. um yeah, and as I said, like this technical design document, I think it's really something that is better, or like really more useful if you're actually in a team. I think it really or at least what happened to me was, because I was so inexperienced but also anxious about jumping into engine, was I like used the technical design document as sort of active procrastination, where I was like adding more and more content to the design document, making sure that it like looked really good despite us only having like 2 team members, right? So it was like, I'm really sucky at like game engines and text type of stuff, but I'm really good at like making documents and stuff, because I came from a very I came from a very academic background. Um, so like this whole like actually practically making stuff was like, especially under a time limit, was super intimidating to me. And honestly, I wish I hadn't been as harsh on myself as I was at school, because I really think that robbed me of a lot of like this natural learning process. So if you're doing it by yourself, even if you're doing it, like if you're doing it with just 2 people, um, keep your design document like readable, right? Have it contain the necessary information, right? Which is like the different player states and what conventions you want to use. Um, but yeah, don't like go overboard with it, because the actual focus is learning is teaching yourself tool proficiency, right? That is what you're making your first game is all about, and it really should just serve as like a, yeah, a bit of a guideline, a bit of a helper, and a communication tool at the end of the day. Whoa, Chris Nickus, you are really, yeah, living it up there in the chat. Please don't spam that we want to have like a natural conversation, unless that is like the most frustrating thing ever from you. Otherwise, I think I might have to, yeah, remove you from the chat. I'm sorry. um, all right. Yeah, I think we can already. Yeah, we still need to fry this vegan chicken. I got this at Albert Heijn. Got some plantartige Kippstückjes. Maybe I'll add some more olive oil to fry this properly. Yeah, the onions are probably gonna be a bit very dark brownish when I'm done here. But yeah, we will see. Oh, hey, Brian. I am cooking some tacos. We're making vegan chicken tacos, and are currently just making the contents of that. How are you doing, Brian? How was your how's your week? Um, we have like question of the day for the first time in the chat. Also like to the rest of the chat, but yeah, for everybody that's here, what is like the most frustrating thing for you currently in your life? Because we haven't talked about frustration all too much. I think that will pop up when we actually get into like the nitty gritty of like how to like make your game in engine, because that's where like the whole frustration really pops up. But just like in general, what frustrates you in life? And yeah, how do you deal with frustration? Um, Lekker. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, that's great to hear. Are you also vegan? Yeah. Are you vegan as well, Manon? Yes, I am. We are like making a completely, like this channel is completely vegan with plant-based recipes. If you have like a recipe to suggest, that would be cool. Maybe I can use it for one of my next streams. Um, right. Yeah. So this the next step is kind of like um yeah, we were talking about the technical design document. Next thing is like kind of goes hand in hand with that, um, which is like creating a plan, right? So once you've broken down like everything there is to break down for your game, um, which again later I have like the things that you want to prioritize. I don't know why I have those later in the script. Oh well, this is all like interconnected anyways. But yeah, you're once you've identified like every single element of the game, if you want to be creating like as an exact recreation, um, you're gonna want to make yourself like a plan. So for every single mechanic, basically, right? And that could be so for Moon Patrol, you yeah, I use Microsoft Planner as a tool, and I think maybe like having one the way Microsoft Planner works is you can have like one task, one main task, and then you can have like little subtasks for that, right? So if you have something like the moon buggy, right? You're gonna want to have like because that is like the main thing of the game. Those are like the main. That's like the main thing the player controls. You're gonna want to make like subtasks for like everything that the player can do with that moon buggy, right? So can it shoot? Right? And then shooting can even be broken down because you shoot both horizontally and vertically, right? So make sure that it shoots horizontally is one task, and making sure that it shoots vertically upon button press is another task, right? And you can do that with like every single mechanic, right? Um, with like every single enemy type, um, with HUD elements, with like point scoring, right? You just want to like have it broken down and made into subtasks. Um, you're vegan too. Oh, that's great. Wait, Brian, your fingers hurt. Can't climb or play guitar is frustrating. Oh no. Oh, that's like honestly, when you hurt your hands, I feel like every single like activity that we like almost every single like fun activity or anything that has us crafting anything requires our hands, right? So if you can't use your hands, what are you like? What can you do? You can like watch TV, I suppose, right? That's hmm. Yeah, that sucks. What are you doing to pass your time? Or like, do you already know when you're gonna be better? But yeah, that's really cool to hear that you're vegan as well, Manon. Um, Rainbow Plant Life has tons of good recipes. I'm making her red lentil curry. As for, ooh, that sounds really nice. Um, wait, I think the veggie stock is ready, or at least, we need some vegetable broth. I used to. This was a lot easier when I just had like vegetable broth powder, I guess. Now I just have like these little clumps of stock. I have to like break them down myself. Um, Rainbow Plant. I think isn't that like this singing vegan, the singing vegan. Um, I watch one person who like does TikToks, and they always sing while making recipes or showing off their recipes. Is that who you're talking about by any chance? All right. Hope this is not too much. No, this is great. Okay, and then sprinkle that powder in. Um, as for frustration, I am dealing with feeling burned out. I don't know how to link. Wait, sorry. I don't know how to limit myself and hate the fact that I'm constantly feeling tired while I really want to work. Oh, Yeah, honestly, that is I'm going to be at one point making like an entire episode on feeling burnt out because I've been feeling that way. I think just now is kind of like the period where I'm actually like trying to find joy in a lot of tasks again. But me personally, I was also so burnt out. I have to say the game jam. Oh, oops! I just spilled all over myself. I have to say the game jam really gave me a lot of positive energy again. Like that was really because my in my third year there were a lot of issues that were popping up, and I really felt like there were a lot of team issues, and I really felt cornered a lot of the time. um if that makes sense. Just like, yeah, I felt like whatever I was doing I just wasn't really getting anywhere, and it took me, yeah, really quite a long time to get back on track again, and to just like, yeah, find enjoyment in like just like by doing small things again. I think, yeah, it's I was still living with like I was living by myself in Breda, and then I moved back in with my family for an internship um that I had um in Germany, and just being together with my family again, like that really helped me get back on track. um I felt like, yeah, when you're feeling really burnt out, just like little things, they can suddenly like start overwhelming you. But yeah, I hope you're doing okay. um I hope you're not too hard with yourself. I think that is also something that I really had a lot of the time, right? Like I was feeling like I wasn't enjoying, or like I wasn't doing enough, right? And I felt like, oh, if you just push yourself more and more and more, right, then that enjoyment will be coming back. And yeah, that couldn't be further from the wrong way of doing things. I think it's really, if you're feeling burnt out, I think a good thing to do is just like, if you can, just take a break from things for like for a bit of time. Maybe it's like just a week or two. That's enough. It depends on like the severity of it, of course. Um, but yeah. Um, Brian, I just climb and play way too much. That's why they hurt. But today I wasn't able to do either. Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. Of course, yeah. I think, yeah. Again, right? You just need to give your hands then time to heal. I thought you had like broken something, right? Amsterdam is great so far, by the way. Like, yeah, of course. I invited you to come over sometime. Like, if you have time, I don't know how busy school is for you. For me, my internship is starting next week, so I'm gonna be free at the weekends, right? But yeah, if you want to visit sometime, right? Just like want to hang out in the city, feel free to come over. It's super great so far. Um, I really wish I was like exploring more, but I don't know. I kind of like gave this cooking channel, just like setting everything up, a bunch of time. Um, yeah, my partner's coming over tomorrow, like for the weekend. So yeah, we're gonna be exploring. We're gonna go to like a tea store in town. That sounds, yeah, that sounds really fun. I'm really excited to just look at that. They have like different rooms for like different tea cultures. That they just sent me like a video for that on TikTok. That was really awesome. Um, I'm currently not working on and trying to do some for sports every day. It's kind of funny how much my brain likes being active. Oh, you're like, oh wait, I actually skipped a message. With the Switch 2, we will be going into the 10th console generation. Yeah, whoa, it's Switch 2 coming up. I'm really excited about that. It didn't look like anything like technically too special. Like just from the hardware side of things, but like once those games are gonna come out, I am so excited for just like new Mario Kart and new 3D Zelda and Mario. Those are gonna be great. Um, wait, not working on and trying to do some. Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, that's really like a trap that you can like find yourself uh find yourself in. I think when you're um you're trying to like take a break, or that's something that I had at least a lot, like trying to take a break, um, but then like my brain kind of like guilt tripping me in a way, like saying like, oh no, you're not active, you gotta get back on track, you gotta keep pushing, and it's like it depends, right? Because sometimes like being active just like gives you like really a bunch of extra positivity, right? Um, so yeah, I think it's yeah, you really yeah. It's also you have to figure out what suits you best. I think it's really different for everybody, but yeah, that's definitely a challenge when you're feeling burnt out. I would always recommend take a bit of a take a bit of a break, come back and see what how much you can do. Um, but yeah, it's unfortunately also something that everybody has to decide for themselves. I'm gonna make a video on this, right? Because I really struggled with it a lot last year. Yeah, and I'm only just recovering from it a little bit. Um, tea is amazing. What's your favorite? Oh, first, my favorite tea. I think it's rooibos. I think that is just kind of like you know how like when you're in a like just out for dinner and the waiter comes along and asks you what you want to drink and your brain just like automatically says yeah I'll take a Coke please. I don't know, maybe that's just it for me, but like for me whenever a waiter comes by I just and asks me what to drink and I have to say I'm just like yeah just please give me a Coke. I have the same with rooibos tea. Like whenever somebody asks me what kind of tea I want I just say rooibos like instantaneously. At least when I'm in the Netherlands, I don't even know what even is rooibos actually. It's just this Dutch word that I've picked up. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty good, and it's just become my standard go-to tea whenever I'm in the Netherlands. Otherwise, I just take mint. I think, but I don't. I'm not in the situation where I order tea outside of Germany, outside of the Netherlands as much. I think it's just like maybe because we had like tea at school. We had this tea cabinet, and whenever somebody asked me what I wanted, I would always say rooibos. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Um, you know the old saying, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Yeah, for the Switch, right? Yeah, no, honestly, I think at the start I thought like you know the Nintendo Switch 2, it looked so boring because it's like no new features or anything. But like then the more I thought about it, right? Like all the PlayStation 2 did was just slap a 2 behind PlayStation and it's like yeah, that led to the best-selling console of all time. So yeah, I think Jesus Christ, I just think the duct tape got loose. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think if it ain't broken, don't fix it. um, Dried South African sticks. Oh, that's what rooibos. Yeah, dried South African sticks. You're just like cooking like random wood. I think there's a little bit. Is it something like? Is it actually just like sticks, or is there like some extra spicy ingredient to it? Like, because I was under the impression that was something like cinnamon or something. I'm not really sure. Um, I also really like rooibos. Oh, your favorite is jasmine? I love the jasmine. Oh yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. South African plant. Um, hmm. The eternal rooibos mystery. I'm currently sick, and this stream is great to watch for that. Oh yeah. I hope you feel better soon, Nintendo. Hope it's nothing too severe. I was also earlier today. I've been like a little bit airheaded, kind of. I think I'm just gonna take a warm shower after the stream is done because I've been feeling a little bit. Well, it started when I joined the game jam last week. Actually, I was feeling really like I was catching a cold, and then I had to sleep in like the cold auditorium at school. But for some reason, that didn't make me sick. I just think the game jam just gave me some extra energy that was necessary to like yeah move forward and yeah just delete the sickness or something. I don't know. Um, how do you spell it? Rooibos? Rooibos. You spelled it in the chat, right? All right. Um, yeah. I guess I'm gonna like move a little bit onwards with my script here. Right, because yeah, I was talking all about like creating your first game and making like making like the major mechanics for it and yeah, exactly how to not get frustrated. Because that's like what kind of the topic of this stream. Also, I think I can like move on with this, right? This is definitely simmered for 5 minutes. All right, I think I can remove the chicken chunks from the broth. Yeah, let me just get a bowl for that. Because, yeah, what we're going to do next is we are actually going to be dipping the tortillas into the broth so that they actually get a bit of flavor. Right. Goes really well with honey. Oh, yeah. Yeah, honey is vegan, unfortunately, but my mom once got me vegan honey, actually, which was such an interesting product. It was like just like real honey, basically. But I'm never often in the situation where I really use honey for anything. So it just sat on top of my shelf. I use it like once or twice for tea. But very often it's like too much of a hassle for me to actually like take it off the shelf and then put honey into my tea. I don't know, that's just like an extra step which my brain isn't like wired to do. I don't know, sounds weird, but maybe you have like those things as well with some everyday activities where it's like it's just extra hassle to do this. Even it's like it would make something so much better, but it's just no. You're too comfortable to do it. Yeah. Right. So, I was talking a little bit about yeah, finishing up your plan for making your first video game and then actually making that in engine. Yeah, which is like I think making the plan that I had set out to do and translating that to engine, that was, I think, the most intimidating thing that happened throughout like my entire game dev study. I don't know, making video games, like even though I had like broken it down, I had also broken it down horribly, by the way, because it's like video games are like magic for me, right? Like I felt like I did really well with making board games and like writing those rules, but then like writing rules for something where that actually like demands physical skills and you're gonna have so many like parts moving simultaneously at the same time. I just like dumped my spoon in here, by the way. I don't know if there's still like any vegan chicken chunks in here. Oops. Oh Jesus, it's really hot. I guess it's just gonna stay in there and I'm gonna fish it out later. I think I probably know there's still some chunks here. But yeah, when you take that first step to making your game an engine, right? I think the most important thing is just relax, right? Don't panic. Be nice to yourself, right? Ideally, for making your first game, I would say don't even set yourself a time limit, right? Because you have no clue how long things are gonna take. And it's like for me, we had like 8 weeks to do the whole planning, design documentation, and making the game, and the whole extra time, like time pressure thing, whilst not knowing how to do anything, that was putting so much stress on me. And it's like, of course, like you're in a study, you're gonna have to, yeah, you can't take forever in a study. But I was putting too much pressure on myself with that, which I really wish I hadn't. But yeah, I think really important, just be very nice to yourself at the start. And yeah, start off with baby steps, like really small things. But you gotta like start off with the baby stuff if you want to like avoid frustration, um, and avoid feeling like you're not reaching anywhere. You want to prioritize right, and because you don't know what to prioritize at the start, um, I have written down the three main things that I would prioritize, not just for making your very first game, but for making any video game in general. And if you have those things nailed down, then I think you are in it. Like you are on a great way to avoid frustration in the process. Let me just check the chat. Rooibos translates to Red Bull. Simmered for 10 minutes. Yeah, I. Rooibos translates to Red Bull. Okay, I think Rooibos isn't Red Bull, or is does Red Bull contain Rooibos? I don't think so, but that would be very interesting. Agave syrup is a great honey substitute. Honestly, I take agave syrup for like everything. Like just for like making things sweeter. I put it like on pancakes. I put it on. Yeah, I do actually use it for tea quite regularly as well, right? But also just like for whipping up like sweet sauces, just like sweet chili or something. Agave is like, mwah. My advice when building a game is to remember that it is rocket surgery. So try to relax and just do one small step at a time. No, not bull. Oh, red bush. Did I read that wrong? I think you're. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely misread that. But yeah, making your first game, that is definitely making any game is definitely absolutely rocket science. Take baby steps, and if you make one wrong step, everything will explode. No, don't worry. Maybe sometimes, but yeah. Okay, so like the three main things that I think you should focus on, um, are yeah. So for one, this is like a template that we are kind of like taught in game design, and that can like be applied to every single game is like having the three C's, right? There's like a lot of three C's with like everything. I feel like I just looked into thumbnail design. They have three C's as well. They stand for like composition and I forgot the other two. No, but for games, three C's is stands for camera, character, and controls. So I'm just gonna like take a really simple platformer, for example, right? So camera is essentially, I think that's the most straightforward. It's essentially like just the camera view that the player has of the scene while they are playing the game, right? Maybe that changes throughout the game. But yeah, if you take like a really simple game like Pong, for example, it's like stationary camera. Mario, the camera moves along with the player. For Moon Patrol, it's also stationary camera, and it's essentially like new parts of the level that are loading in, but the camera really stays fixed and stationary all the time. Then we have controls, which yeah, I think it's also yeah relatively straightforward. That's essentially just like button mapping, right? Like if you have your controller, which button essentially does which thing, and does it yeah which button does which thing. If you have a keyboard, right, which key translates to which action. And then we have character at the end, which is essentially right. Also, yeah, you could say relatively straightforward. Again, it depends all on what type of game you're making, right? If you have like if you have Mario, for example, right, it's like all these questions, all these variables, like how high can he jump, how fast can he run, right, and all these variables that can be tweaked and like have a great impact on the experience, right? Whether you have a very large jump, floaty jump, or like just a very short and snappy jump, that can totally change the experience. And yeah, I think this template is very easily applied to a lot of like games where that demand physical skills, right? Like if you have, I'm thinking of games like Mario Kart, just like jump and runs, or also shooters, right? Just these very action-packed games, right? It's like all of them kind of relate to that one single character that you're controlling. But yeah, of course there are other games that like demand mental skills or yeah, just uh, maybe more strategy based. Like I'm playing a lot of Balatro at the moment, right? And you just like have to like try to look at this 3Cs template in a bit more of an abstract way. And I think about like how does that translate to the game I'm playing. What it really aims for is making sure that like all the actions that you are performing have good game feel. That is like a term that is very closely linked to that 3Cs template. Um, yeah, so um, uh, yeah, right. So you're gonna want to make sure that like everything you do for camera controls and how you like tweak the character and design them leads to like good game feel, which ideally you want to have defined at the start of your game development journey, right? So like for I don't know Mario, for example, right? You want to have like a really joyous, fun, simple experience, right? That is also very accessible to a large audience, right? Especially like younger audience maybe, or just like family friendly, right? So you're gonna want to make sure that like your controls also really aim towards that, right? So that he's easy to control, but then maybe you have like a high skill ceiling for people that actually like want to master the controls, right? Like in the new Mario Odyssey, there's like a bunch of like extra additional moves that you can make to just yeah show off your skills essentially, right? So yeah, I think that's where fun really comes in, that mastery of controls, at least for physical games, or mastery for everything, right? That's what makes games fun. But yeah, I think we're getting a little bit sidetracked here. I was really just wanted to tell you about the 3Cs and game feel. So that is like the first thing that you want to pay attention to when you're recreating your game. Just that main character that is at the heart of the game you're creating feels good to control. Um, Second thing I wrote down is challenge, right? I think you should really like start identifying, because this is really where the game becomes a game, right? If it's like if you just have a character that's fun to control, which is what I often say is like the 3Cs, they are essentially like the toy of the game, right? That's like the toy. And I think where challenge comes in, right, when you have like actual things that are working against the character in achieving the goal, that is really where the toy then becomes a game. Um, right? So yeah, you really want to like identify what is the challenge, what are the skills that you're demanding of your player, right? Is it like physical, mental, social? Yeah, and then which elements of the game contribute to that challenge? I'm trying to keep this in a very abstract way. Gonna back it up with again Moon Patrol as an example, right? So for Moon Patrol, um, essentially, I think the main challenge of it, of course, there's like physical skills and like timing your button presses well, but I think um, the main skill, or one of the main skills that you really need is coordination, right? So just making sure, because there's enemies coming at you from horizontally and vertically at different speeds, and making sure that you always have yourself positioned properly so that your shot manages to hit both things at the same time. Like that is a satisfying move if you can pull that off in the game, hit both things at the same time. That feels so good. um, yeah, so you have that coordination, but then there's also an additional mechanic in Moon Patrol, which is like a risk reward type of thing, where it's essentially you can accelerate in Moon Patrol also to position yourself more favorably. But the further you are ahead within that screen that you have, the faster you're gonna reach your destination, and the more points you're gonna collect. Um, so, but of course, if the further you are ahead, as enemies are coming towards you, they're gonna like bump into you, right? And yeah, you run the risk of bumping into them more easily and thus losing a life. Um, yeah, so it's like these different types of like these different elements, these different challenges, or things you need to be aware of, they all come together to create challenge. So yeah, if you can identify that properly, what makes the game challenging, what makes it fun for you, that's like the second step. I'm gonna like look into the chat. Um, ooh, Nico, hey Paul, greetings from Vienna. Oh, that's so nice of you to drop by the stream, Nico. How are you doing? Greetings from Amsterdam. Hope Vienna is awesome. I'm basically, yeah, I'm basically in the Vienna of the North, right? Amsterdam, like we got. Do we have more bridges than Vienna actually? Can somebody maybe look that up? Which city has more bridges, Vienna or Amsterdam? Um, I want to try the food. It looks so good. Yeah, Tom will be 53 years old this year. 53? That's insane. Mario Odyssey will be years old this year. Wow. Yeah. time really flies. 8 years already since Mario Odyssey has been released. That's crazy. It still seems so young to me. Um, he overlooked my messages. Oh no, I'm sorry. The chat has kind of like um sped up a little bit. Never mind. No, just write it again. I'm sorry. Yeah, but yeah, you said the food does look good. Speaking of food, we should probably continue with the tortillas. And while I'm dunking them in, I'm gonna tell you about the last thing that I think you should be paying attention to during the game, and that is readability. Right? So 3C's challenge and make sure that the game is readable to your player. Right? So that means all these sorts of things like, you know, having like a HUD. Oh, well, it's really, really hot. I hope I don't burn my fingers here. Yeah, so elements like having a HUD. Yeah, and just in general, making sure that the player has enough information to make their choices throughout the game. I think that doesn't really just like come down to ensuring that the player oh crap, now my spoon is somewhere in the pot, but that's all right. Thinking, is this, yeah, I think this is okay. I don't think you need to like make like a huge tutorial that like spoon feeds everything to the player exactly as it should be, which I personally, I don't like that. I always like it when the player can like explore the game and the rules of the game for themselves a little bit, right? Like for Balatro, essentially, you're just like thrown into the experience. There's nobody like, there's no main, I mean, there is a main menu, but there isn't like a tutorial screen or anything where like the rules of the game are laid out exactly to you. You have to figure it out as you go. And I think that is really cool for a lot of games. That's, yeah, I really like it. So yeah, what you really have to make sure is just that the game is readable, right? Just like basic actions that you gain feedback for them, right? So like, again, I'm using Moon Patrol as an example, right? Just like your high score, for example, or like just score, that the score is like displayed properly. When you're playing, right? Just that there's like a little particle effect when you hit an enemy or when you die. Just that there's like effects or feedback for that in place, right? And then the more you add of that, again, for the different states that you've determined at the start, the more the player will understand. Yeah, I think I don't have enough chicken for like, I wanted to make like 8 tortillas, or at least that is what this recipe is for. I think I even used like 165 grams of chicken. Vegan chicken. There's like, I think the recipe says like 80 grams. Yeah, so I used like double. I am nowhere near getting to 8 tortillas. All right, yeah, so just to sum that up, those are the 3 things that I would look at firsthand if you want to reduce frustration, that I would focus on. So you got the 3 C's and the game feel for your game. You got the challenge that's being imposed onto the player, and then you have the readability of the game and the feedback, right? So to reduce frustration, right? Don't worry about things like main menu or like parallax backgrounds. I remember I spent like an entire day, or like I think 2 days, just like designing the parallax background um for the game. Well, we weren't like, our controls weren't even in place, but it was like an easy task, relatively easy task, so I thought I was making progress, which is like, yeah, you should like prioritize accordingly, see what's really, again, central to the experience. And I think those three things, right, really make up that central experience: 3C's / game feel, readability, and challenge. Um, Nachos? No Döner bread. No Döner bread. Wait. Wait. We don't have Döner bread. Bread. I'm becoming German. Just have tortillas. You should set up Discord so we can create a little dev community. Oh, I do have Discord actually. Are you watching on YouTube or on Twitch? If you look into my, I think my welcome video, there is a link to the Discord community. So yeah, you can just you just hop on in there, and yeah, we can have a chat for sure. I always love chatting with game devs, just like seeing what everybody is up to. And yeah, if you have some interesting projects coming up, you can put them in that server as well to get some feedback. Cool. All right, I think we are actually almost done. What I still have is some. Oh yeah, of course. To make them crispy, we probably also want to fry them a little bit, at least a little bit. Yeah, I think that is good. I made way too much broth for this, Jesus. Maybe it's actually, is it like okay if I turn on the light now and just, nah, still overexposed. But then you can see my face better, I guess. I don't know, what does it look like if I put, no, honestly, that looks pretty good, I think. I hope it's not like too overexposed. Cool, I'll try to find the Discord after dinner. Yeah, awesome. Otherwise, I have you on Discord, right? Yeah, I can send you the link then that way. Cool. Yeah, and then I think the last thing, because like this episode was supposed to be kind of like all about frustrations that we go through during game dev. The last thing that I had on my point was, we already touched upon mental health, right? But I think when you're at school, which is why I think teaching yourself game dev in like a private environment is sometimes maybe a little bit nicer. It depends on what kind of environment, but because I was like in an environment with like so many people that already had great skills at making games and jumping into engine, I was putting so much pressure on myself, just like, oh, they're so good and I really want to be like them. And I think that also really, that is something that really leads to burnout, just like constantly comparing yourself with others for like something that you're inexperienced at and you are trying to learn, right? I think that is something that, like, a mistake that you're never allowed to do. Never compare yourself with somebody else when you're just starting out, when you're just learning, right? Take like baby steps at the start when you're just jumping into engine, right? Just make sure, like for the character controller, right? As I said, that is like probably for Moon Patrol, like the moon bug is like probably the most central thing. Just like make it like a day's task just to get him to like, maybe just first of all to just point the camera in the correct way, right? Like when I was starting out with Unreal Engine and I was like exposed to blueprinting, all I saw was just like colorful little bubbles in the editor. And I was like, again, right, I said I came from a very academic background, and during Unreal Engine I was like taking notes on everything, right? I was like taking notes on what is a boolean, what is integer, right, which are like these variables that you tweak to make the game character feel proper. um, but yeah, I didn't really understand how these things like actually tied together to then create actually create a video game, right? And that was like so new to me, and I felt so stressed out and overwhelmed by all of this stuff. Um, so yeah, really take it very, very easy. Take some time to just find out where do you actually do these things, right? So for like camera, where do I actually move the camera, right? And then angle it right so that it looks like it does in the game. And that is like a day's task when you're just starting out, I think. Okay, I'm gonna remove a little bit of chicken because I still want to like flip this. Ah. Yeah. And also, of course, there's like a lot of like ethical concerns with like generative AI, rightfully so. But I think honestly using ChatGPT just like to make your process easier and to find out where things are, that is so good. Like I think that was the biggest frustration for me at the start, just not knowing where to where to look for things or not getting answers quickly enough. Like, I mean, I guess I could have asked my teachers, but I was like, for some reason, I was like really nervous, and I thought, oh, they've probably explained this at some point. If I ask them again, then they'll be annoyed with me, which is like, again, right? People people get annoyed at some point if you ask them the same stuff over and over, which is like they don't really, but I always feel like that, like they do in the back of my mind. Um, so yeah, ask people, but also make use of ChatGPT because the feedback you get is instantaneous, um, and you can just find out things so much quicker, right? You don't have to like move through tutorial hell and like go through 5 different YouTube videos and just to find out that they actually did not have what you were looking for at all. Right? So really be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to learn. Give yourself the time and you will learn. You will get there. I think that is really all that I have for this episode today. Oh yeah, of course, right? As you are like ooh, nice. Look at how brown this looks. This looks so nice. As you are making the game, don't forget to like compare it to your reference game as well, right? If you're making an exact copy, like play the reference game on one, like maybe have the reference game open like right next to your game and like play it on that screen and then play yours. And then you can like really, at least when you're getting into like the specifics, into like how do you tweak the character like accurately, right? You can see like, okay, wait, the game feel for the original, right? Maybe the jump is a little bit higher in the original, so just let me tweak the variables so that it actually feels like the original, right? Just like making these small little increments. Once you're at that point, I think maybe give it to somebody else as well, and if you can't put your finger on it, maybe they can. Just like what feels slightly different or odd about the experience. I think that's a good idea. Well, a teacher's job is to explain mostly the same things every year. Yeah, Yeah, it is. Honestly, being a teacher, like I was a little like I was a tutor for a while back in Germany, and I feel like yeah, you do explain the same things every time. Like I was a tutor for English and German, and a lot of the times you do explain the same things. But I think what really makes it interesting is the students and how everybody learns at like a different pace, right? I think that's what makes it a lot of fun, right? And right, maybe there's just somebody who learns more visually, and you just have to do a lot of sketching for them. Um, in cases of like when you're like explaining like uh, um, how dramatic structures work or something, or just like plot points, right? You actually have to sketch out plot points of a play for them, and then they grasp it. Whereas for some people, they're just more wordy, right? And it's just like you have different people with different skills and different ways of learning. I think that's what makes teaching fun, even if it's essentially explaining the same thing every year. All right, I think we made ourselves 3 nice tacos. Yeah, I should probably maybe I'll go to Api and just get myself some more chicken just so I can have more tacos for tomorrow. My partner is also coming tomorrow, then I can still make some nice tacos for them. Yeah, I'll just leave that on here for now. Should be good. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to like recap everything just to wrap this episode off kind of. I think I have like all the recap I have on here. Yeah, it's essentially like 7 points. So again, just like the final points to like take out of the whole creating your first game, keeping yourself reasonably sane in the process talk, right? So the tips I had for your first game: recreate an experience or create an experience that is very close to your already existing one, as to not stress yourself out. Do not blindly follow a tutorial that makes the whole game for you, right? Really try to go through the process of breaking down the game for yourself, and then try to like, yeah, go more in depth with these points. Look at like tutorials for those specific points, right? How do you make a character controller? How do you button map controls to a controller, for example? Yeah, but don't just like follow a tutorial blindly, because your brain is just gonna go on autopilot and you're gonna go away from it not really having learned that much. Yeah, this kind of ties into the other point: break the game down as much as you can, create flowcharts for player states and mechanics, make yourself a plan in which you create tasks and then create little subtasks for that. Again, right, just break it down into the smallest little baby steps that you can have, and yeah, then you'll also be able to count your winnings. Right. And then the last 4 points I have, okay, this I basically just said: create a plan in Microsoft Planner or another tool with prioritization of the mechanics. Again, because it's your first experience, your first time doing it, do not add any time pressure on yourself. Just take as much as you need. Right. Again, regarding prioritization, the 3 things that I would prioritize, which are central to the core experience: you want to prioritize the 3 C's. You want to prioritize the challenge, identify where the challenge of the game comes from, and the readability of the game. Once you've identified those elements and which elements of the game belong to these things, you're good to go, right? Don't waste too much time on the main menu, right? If you're creating a fully commercialized product, you're gonna need a main menu, but not for just starting out. I mean, just make it at the end for completion's sake, right? If you wanna. Right, take baby steps in Engine. Use ChatGPT to get quick answers to questions. I can't stress this enough. I think I'm gonna make like a whole video just on using ChatGPT and all the like tips and tricks like I've learned from it and how it's been able to help speed up my process because that tool is fantastic. Um, yeah, and ultimately make sure that you test the game to see if it matches the player experience, right? Give it to somebody else. Ask them if the player experience matches the correct experience. Just ask them how it feels. Ask them how it feels, right? And if they and see if they say the same keywords that you maybe at the beginning identified for the fun or for the experience that you had when playing the game for the first time. I think if that is a great way to see if you're on the right track. If people say those keywords that you identified at the beginning about your game, then you're doing a good job. All right, I think what we can still do, of course, is I have this little lime. Yeah, just to add some freshness, and I have some coriander. The recipe said add some soap, but I think there's not that much difference between coriander and soap, just as long as you put something green in it, right? We gotta get those vitamins somehow. So let me check the chat again. You've been lovely today, by the way. Had a really nice time with all of you. Thank you so much for taking part. Let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, hope you managed to find the Discord. I think half a lime is enough for 3 tacos. That should be fine. Why did I have soy sauce here? Apparently I had to use soy sauce somewhere throughout the recipe, but I completely skipped through that. Yeah, for the next episode, I wanted to make sushi at some point. Maybe it's maybe I could make an episode where I just answer questions while making sushi, because that's gonna be a lot of coordination for me. It already is a lot of coordination, looking at the chat, cooking, being on track with the script at the same time. I hope it doesn't like distract too much from yeah. if I'm doing all these things simultaneously. But yeah, I think we made ourselves some nice tacos. I hope you all managed to make yourself some nice dinner. Nice. Look at those. 3 little cornbreads tucked to sleep. Cool. For how long have you been doing these streams? This is actually my 3rd stream. So yeah. just starting out, but I want to do them twice a week. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to keep this up, because yeah, my internship at Poki is starting next week. And yeah, I probably also want to have like some time where I don't spend the time in front of a screen. So yeah, I'll just see. I do want to keep it up to twice a week, like every Tuesday and Friday. Those are just the times I set for myself for now. But like when the internship starts, maybe they're like gonna go out for drinks every Tuesday, and then I'll adjust my plan accordingly. Yeah, just gonna have to see. But at least once a week, I do definitely, yeah, wanna keep one stream a week, because I like doing this, and I like chatting with you and cooking and talking a little bit about game design to kind of solidify my learnings I made at school, and to maybe help out some designers if this channel should grow. So yeah, make sure that you share it with any game developers that you have, or yeah, you're maybe in contact with, if you feel that this could help them out, or yeah, just to grow this community a little bit. Nice catching one. Oh, S Smeklik. Is that like eight Smakelig? Are you like trying to say that in German? It's like just say Guten Hunger. Ace Smeklik. Thank you. I will, and I hope you're enjoying your dinner as well, and you're gonna be up and climbing again in the future. Yeah, thank you all again so much for tuning in. I'll hope to be back on next week Tuesday. Right, as I said, we're gonna be making some vegan sushi. But yeah, we'll see how things go with the internship. I'll keep you updated on the Discord. You can find the Discord in the main video on the homepage. Just go into the description and there should be the Discord link. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at saying have a good one and enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend. Bye bye.